almost nobody likes being on camera. Even confident, successful business owners get in their own head the second the lens is pointed at them. And being unprepared, that just makes that feeling like 10 times worse. So you get more nervous, you second guess yourself, and you walk out thinking, I hope they can fix that in editing. And we usually can make people sound good because that's our job. But what I really want is for you to walk in feeling good, know what you're there to say, and walk out confident, not anxious, not unsure, and not dreading the edit. A bad or unprepared content shoot doesn't just cost you a couple of hours, it costs you the money you paid for the shoot if you're hiring somebody, the time that you actually spent doing the shoot, and sometimes it actually hurts your business if the content comes out awkward, unclear, or off-brand. So in this video, I want to show you how to prepare for a content shoot, whether you're shooting with us or on your own, so you don't waste time, money, or opportunity and actually get the content you're proud of. So what do bad shoot days almost always have in common? It's almost always some version of not being prepared. And to be clear, that's not just on the person who's on camera. Preparation also means the crew, the setup, the plan, but from a content perspective, what I see most often is that people sit down and they just start talking. And unless you're really good at this, that usually doesn't go the way you hope. What tends to happen is you start talking about your industry instead of your customer. You forget what it's like to not know what you know. So you try to sound smart instead of trying to be understood. And the moment you're staring into a camera lens, your brain just kind of goes blank anyway. It happens to everyone, even me. And I've been on camera for years and I like to think that I'm pretty good at it. But if I were to sit down with no prep and just start talking, my videos would make no sense. I would be talking in circles. I'd be going off on a ton of tangents that just wouldn't make sense. And I probably would never end up posting those videos. Now, on the flip side, the shoots that go really well almost always look the same. You sit down and you know what you're going to talk about. You know who you're talking to. You know what you want the content to do. And you're not trying to figure it out while the camera is rolling. And when there's intention, you're more efficient, you get more usable content, and you leave knowing whether the shoot actually accomplished something or not. Now, in my experience, most people fall into one of two failure modes. Failure mode number one is being over-scripted. This is when you sound stiff, you sound corporate, and you sound like you're reading instead of talking. There's no personality, there's no energy, no stories. People can feel that when you're reading. Failure mode number two is you're totally unprepared, and this is the opposite. You sit down and you just fucking wing it. Like I said, this is actually me if I'm not prepared. My brain just kind of wanders. Thank you, ADHD. So part of this is learning how you personally perform best, scripted, outlined, or prompted, and that only comes from practice and trying those different things. Now, a quick note on ChatGPT and content planning. Going to ChatGPT and saying, give me 20 content ideas isn't really planning your shoot. Now, maybe it's a step up from totally winging it, but what happens most of the time is everyone shows up with the same topics. Everyone makes the same generic videos, and nobody is talking about the things that only they can talk about. Information is everywhere now, and that's not the scarce resource anymore. Your experience, your stories, your perspective, that's the scarce part. And I myself use ChatGPT all the time to help me write stuff, but I noticed that when I don't do the thinking myself, I don't fully own what I'm saying. It might sound good, but it doesn't really feel like mine. And when I'm recording it or reading back the script, I start to feel lost or confused on what's going on. It kind of feels like someone did my homework. Like, yeah, I'm going to get a passing grade, but I wouldn't be able to show my work. Now, all my videos are fully scripted, including this one. But a script is not for memorization, and it's not really just for reading. A script is to help me organize my thoughts and making sure that everything's making sense, which honestly just reduces a lot of stress and cognitive load on my brain. A script helps so when you're on camera, you're not thinking, what do I say next? You're thinking, how do I actually say this? And that's a huge difference. And if you do write a script, be sure to write like you actually talk. Don't write like you're writing an essay for school and trying to fill up the word count like we all used to. Something like, instead of writing, you are going to want to, write, you're gonna wanna. Be imperfect, and it's okay to mess up. That's what makes it human. This is really important if you're an expert or a professional. Most experts default into trying to sound impressive and instead of trying to sound understood. That leads to jargon, over explaining, over qualifying, and talking like above the audience. And when someone feels dumb watching your content, they're not really thinking, wow, this person's smart. They're thinking, I don't know if this person's for me. Authority doesn't come from sounding smart. It comes from being clear. And honestly, your personality matters way more than you think. If you're a real estate agent who loves fishing, talk about that sometimes. If you're a business owner with a weird hobby, let that show up. People don't just hire expertise anymore. They hire who they feel they'll like working with. And you should honestly just let your content pre-qualify or pre-disqualify you. So what does good prep actually look like? 1, what is this shoot for? What platform are we shooting for? How many pieces of content are we trying to get? And what does success look like for this content? So for example, we're shooting 8 videos so I can post twice a week on Instagram for the next month. Number 2, who is each piece of content for? And you can't just say everyone. You got to pick one type of person and one kind of problem. Number 3 is, what do you want them to walk away with? Like, what should they know or what should they do? 4, how do you perform best? Fully scripted, bullet points, or prompts? Pick the style that keeps you out of the 2 failure modes we talked about earlier. And 5, at minimum, plan your hooks. The first sentence matters more than almost anything else. If you know who you're talking to, what you want to say, and why it matters to them, everything just gets so much easier. The real goal is to not get through the content shoot. The goal is to walk in knowing what you're there to say, who you're saying it to, and why it matters. When you do that, you're calmer, you're clearer, you're faster, and you get way better content. If you do these things, your shoots will be better. Not because of the studio, not because of the gear, but because you showed up with a plan.